So your anxiety is about India because we are seeing, as you just said, a gradual increase in temperature. We've had a monsoon with climatic events, cyclones, heavy rains, landslides in different parts, the rains extending to parts that normally were desertified almost. Is that what is any particular anxiety about countries like India?
Well, yes, the closer you are to the equator and the more you have farmers who just a few bad years, lead to worse malnutrition, they are in many cases not going to be able to grow enough to eat. Now, we can help a bit by giving them far, far better seeds, better water management type systems. But we also need to reduce these emissions. Otherwise, the temperature increase will mean that some areas are no longer suitable for human farming.
Is there a world leader, a role model, someone inspirational, whether it's an activist, a politician, someone you've met, a young innovator out there who makes you feel positive? Is there someone, some experience you want to share with us of someone you've met who makes you feel hopeful about the future when it comes to climate change?
Yeah, when I spend time with these new companies that I've been lucky enough to invest in through Breakthrough Energy, I see so many great ideas. Now, many of them won't work, but for each of the key areas, we have at least 5 companies that believe they have an approach. So it's only through innovation that I gain hope here. There is a lot of policy work. Europe, gets by far the highest grade of really making this issue front and center for them. The world needs that because the rich countries have a lot of the innovation power, and we need to tap into that, even in areas where the breakthroughs on things like steel and cement, they haven't been the sexy areas for smart people to go work in, but we're trying to change that right now and get more of those brilliant minds engaged.
Conversely, are there any leaders or corporates or whose attitude or blind spots or tardiness makes you feel worried or dismayed in a way, Bill Gates? You can be frank about that here.
Well, historically, the oil and gas industry did confuse the consensus on climate. And, that was self-interested and, very unfortunate because with the science as complex as it is, any sort of uncertainty or doubt means it's harder to get through to the Democratic voter who they set the priorities for the country. And so, that whole idea that in the United States, at least, the Republican Party has not made this a priority. Now, I'm very hopeful that young Republicans will see it, and they may have different idea of how to solve the problem, but they'll see it as a priority. In most other countries, all the political parties agree that this is a very, very high priority. In fact, a lot of the money that's being allocated coming out of the pandemic in the US and Europe is labeled for these green projects, which will advance the innovation.
But in your view, is technology going to be the most important solution, or is it going to be political leadership that provides the solution, corporate leadership, policy changes, or dare I say, human behavior of civil society, citizenship that is going to have to embrace climate change and its solutions?
Yeah, we won't be able to get there without all 3 of those. Governments will have to help create markets so that even when the electric cars are a little more expensive, they get purchased and that volume will drive the price down. So eventually the extra cost, what I call the green premium, will be 0. That's ideal. We need to do that across all these areas. For electricity, the solar panels, at least during the day, that electricity is actually cheaper than running a coal plant. So we have some good examples where we've gotten there, but I'd put government at the top of the list, because building this new grid and shifting that physical economy, their policies have to accelerate this in almost an unnatural speed in order for it to happen. So, policy is on top, but without innovation, the cost, the sacrifice that we'd be making people to make is just far too large.
Bill Gates, you've done a lot of work in India, working with people on health, on improving livelihoods. And as you know, in a country like India, just keeping people's livelihoods going is a huge challenge. How do you then convince those people about the urgency of climate change? Is there something specific that you would advise to tell the Indian people about the urgency of climate change at the moment?
Well, sadly, this emergency, like many, if we don't do the right things, the poorest are the ones who suffer the most. And so it's the farmer who barely gets by with today's climate who will find themselves not able to grow enough food, the crop failing many years, and unable to even work outdoors during part of the year, particularly closer to the equator. And so this is a great injustice. The rich countries have a particular obligation to exercise their investment in innovation to cut the costs of green products by over 90%. We can already see some leading companies like Reliance working on, okay, what do these products look like? How would we scale up solar even more? How would we get this green hydrogen so that it's affordable? Because the key point is, you're absolutely right. You cannot expect the average Indian citizen not to still expect more travel, better shelter. Those things are, it's just human decency that we can't stop building new structures or making fertilizer. And so innovations to multiply those large-scale activities by zero in terms of their emissions, and policies that accelerate that, that's where that I get my optimism and belief that yes, if we bring everybody together, this can be done.